Good evening. I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening. There's only a few seats empty, so it's nice to see so many people here tonight. At this point, we will call the May 21st regular board meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Chambers, will you call roll, please?
Mr. Eastwood.
Here.
Ms. Pavlik.
Here.
Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Mr. Ross. Ms. Parkhurst.
Here.
Thank you.
Next, or first thing on the agenda, we have the approval of the regular April 16th board meeting minutes and the work session from May 14th. Does anyone have any changes, comments about the minutes?
I make a motion that we approve those minutes as noted.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any changes or modifications to the consent agenda?
I just was wondering if we might just consider moving to separate items to vote on the larger ticket items, like the award of the bid for, let's see, resolution, I believe number 4 for the roofing, number 5, number 6, and then number 9 for the cameras. Just those items, if we could possibly separate those out, please.
Oh, does anyone have any other items?
Hey, Becky, with the agreement with the Career Center, is that something that we need to consider, Rob, anything with?
It's for the PLTW curriculum.
Yeah, I mean, just with the fact that we're on that board, do we need to?
I don't believe it's a conflict
That's
of
not-
interest because we're appointed from this board there, and
Okay, very
it's-
well.
Thank you.
I move to separate action items 4, 5, 6, and 9 into separate items.
I will second that.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, since we made those changes now, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda absent those items that we've separated.
Second.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Ross. Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'd like to start our meeting this evening by thanking our Medina City School families, our staff. It's a pleasure to see so many students here today because you play an important role as well. We sent a shout out earlier this month when we had our work session and nobody was there to see it. So we're fortunate tonight to have so many people there. The importance of the passage of this levy has really created some long-term stability for the district. As I had stated at the work session, which actually was just last week. Despite the fact that we've got this stability, it's still time for us to make sure we tighten our belts. We are committed to our strategic plan, which we made in collaboration with our staff, students, and community. And our budget over the course of the next several years needs to fit within that plan. We told the community our intent is to go 4 to 5 years before asking for an additional levy or additional money, and we intend to stick to that commitment. And as long as we follow our strategic plan and make sure we're implementing new programming based off that plan, we're going to be okay, because that plan has already been worked within our district budget. So those monies are already accounted for. And that's what allows us to move forward, add additional programming without asking for more money. Already, what we have being implemented is additional electives at our high school, increased instructional time for language arts and math at both of our middle schools. French is going to be one of the big new offerings up at the high school. We're currently discussing guidance counselors up at our high school. All-day kindergarten is already in motion. We're encouraging people to go ahead and enroll for the all-day program so we can identify the amount of teachers that we're going to need for the upcoming year. And in addition to that, we are really going to be making an effort to watch our class sizes, specifically at grades K through 4 for the coming school year. And I've been asked multiple times what's my philosophy with class sizes. My philosophy is we want to keep lower classes down at the K through 3 grade levels. And the reason why is because those are the grade levels where students are building their foundations. And statistically, if you look at student achievement, students tend to level out after 3rd grade. And that's why the state implemented the 3rd grade guarantee. So we want to make sure we have that more individual attention. I think the thing I'm most excited about is the partnership that we're in the process of building across the community and within the district. Out of this whole thing, I think that's the most important thing to me, that our schools are truly reflecting the community and the community expectations. And we will continue to strive to move in that direction. Ralph Waite's presentation was up next, but I'm thinking about moving you guys to the end of the agenda. Just because I'm enjoying the audience here and these smiling faces. I wouldn't do that to you. I'm not going to move you to the end and make you sit through our whole meeting. I'm going to move you back one spot, though. We have a recognition that we want to honor tonight. I already talked about the collaboration with our community and the importance that we play in a role together. It's not the district and the community, we're together. And that really, and I don't think people always realize that, but that really is true coming into the walls of our buildings. And we have multiple volunteers that work with our students throughout the course of a school year, and some of them are sitting right up here with me right now in order to ensure the success of our students. An area that it has been a huge help is with some of our extracurricular academic opportunities. And if you have not heard about our Science Olympiad program, it has really seen some success over the course of this past year. And Mrs. Pavlik, I know you wanted to say a few words and do a presentation.
Just to give a little bit of a background, our high school team and a team from Root traveled to OSU the weekend of April 27th. There they competed against some very experienced teams, some of who competed at the national level. Out of 40 teams, our high school placed 15th, and Root, in their inaugural season, placed 24th. What makes these placements so special is that our Science Olympiad teams are coached by parents and local community volunteers who do this all on their own time and primarily with their own financial resources. On May 12th, the Medina Science Olympiad program hosted the 6th Elementary Science Olympiad Tournament. The tournament was run by the Science Olympiad teams from the high school, as well as both Root and Claggett teams. This STEM event encourages elementary students to study, design, and build in preparation for the competition. We had 16 teams from Medina, Highland, Brunswick, and Menlo Park Academy come down from Cleveland. Medals were awarded to the first through sixth place finishers in each event, and the top 3 schools received trophies. This year's first place team was Granger Elementary, followed by St. Francis and Sharon Elementary. We are so lucky here in Medina to have Science Olympiad in our district for years. I think we're going on probably 30 years. Okay. And we are so fortunate to have some rockstar parent involvement that supports it. There is one person, though, who truly deserves recognition for going above and beyond the typical parent volunteer. Organizing almost 60 students in 2 different age divisions in up to 46 separate events is no easy task and is quite the Excel spreadsheet. On top of that, after that feat was done, the same person in 2 weeks' time organized the elementary tournament. Again, those 16 teams, 12 different schools, 15 different events. The dedication and support of a program our students reap so many benefits from is astounding. And for that, I would like to recognize Elizabeth Kistner with a Certificate of Appreciation from Medina City Schools. Elizabeth, you have our sincerest gratitude and our deepest thanks, because your dedication in inspiring the next wave of STEM students, not only in Medina City Schools, but Medina County, it's incredible. Thank you very much. Thank you, Aaron.
And wait, I'm going to bump you one more time. And the reason why is because the presentation I'm going to move up before you, I think, is pretty darn cool, and I want you guys to see it because you're eventually going to have an opportunity to experience this. Mr. O'Cole has been working with students to build sandboxes. And they're not your traditional sandboxes that you play in your backyard. They're actually computerized topography sandboxes. And we were fortunate enough that he was able to bring one in tonight to share with the board and all of you. Can't bring it down to the center because there's about, I was told, about 200 pounds of sand in it. So that would be quite a feat. But it's in the back there. And I want you to know that that entire system, the computers of it, as well as the structure, was built within the district from staff, personnel, and students, which saved us a great amount of money in doing that. So I want to invite our students to meet Mr. O'Cole in the back there. And of course, any board members or adults that can fit back there can join as well, while Ryan explains what this sandbox thing is. Yeah, go.
I do have a slide up here that says, I looked up online to see what it costs to buy one of these, and it's about $7,600. And these guys are able to put it together, and we did it for under $1,000 for what we have up here. So if you want to come up and look, and then had Shannon kindly reach out to me and ask if there was anything. She said, I've got 2 kids that are very into the technology and would love an experience. I said, I think we have a project we can work on. So with Paul is, Paul Morriscraft is the middle school principal at Feko. We were able to get these 2 gentlemen to be able to come over to the high school after school, and they worked with Procopius Lotso is our help desk person that runs is in charge of help desk. But he took these 2 gentlemen and they tore down computers. Would you guys want to explain what you did? Okay, introduce yourselves and you guys speak up.
Hey guys, can we have you come down and talk into the mic so everybody can hear you guys? I want to make sure you're heard because you guys did an outstanding job. And while they're on their way down, again, I wanted to point out this is a project that Ryan was able to lead for under $1,000, that if we just purchased it straight up would have been over $7,000. Currently, they've got 2 of these sandboxes, these virtual sandboxes created. This is part of our strategic plan and the inquiry-based learning. One of those sandboxes is going to be at Claggett next year, where we're implementing a makerspace in the media center. The other one is going to Garfield, where we are also going to be implementing a makerspace. Our goal is to have at least one of these in each of our buildings within the next couple of years. And I can tell you that it was really inspiring to our tech department to get to work with some students, and they're excited and raring to build more of these.
So, I am Sean Kovacs. The slide.
No, you don't, Sean, you don't have to do that. You just explain what you guys worked on. Have Adam introduce himself.
I'm Adam Folina with an F instead of a P.
So this is it's a sandbox. Like it's controlled by computers. It uses an Xbox Connect and a shorter range projector to basically it uses depth perception to try to figure out what's closer and farther away in the sandbox, what's lower and higher, and then it uses the projector to project that topographical image of that back onto the sand, which you can manipulate.
Well, every day, it's been already explained, but every single day for about a month after school, we would come here, then we would work on the project, and we were learning a lot about computers. We were taking apart computers, taking apart other things just to see how things work, and then it came to the fun part where we actually built the machines itself, or the computers. We had to load software onto trial and error. Sometimes it wouldn't work. We wanted to customize the computers to make it so that you could run the program easier.
There's rain. So you can put your hand up about a little bit above the sandbox. It will start raining down onto the landscape. It flows naturally, so it functions a lot like real water when it lands.
That's great, guys. I have a couple questions for you. Just real quick questions. What grade are you guys in?
7th grade.
7th graders. And I think most people couldn't understand what you were just explaining, so that's pretty impressive. My other question for you is, how much did you guys learn from this experience, and was it fun?
We learned a lot about how computers work and what they're capable of, and it was a lot of fun.
And I just want everybody to know that this is an outstanding example of inquiry-based learning, which is what we're dedicated to. moving forward. And it wasn't even in the classroom. It was to build a device to implement inquiry-based learning for all of their peers. And the process of that was able to be a science lesson, a math lesson, a technology lesson. So thank you to the technology department.
Yeah, these guys did, and these guys, they did a great job. I also put up here, special thanks, Medina City School Foundation provided us with a grant with some money to get the project underway. Also, Steve and Sue Mishler. Steve is the head of the maintenance department. He and his wife painted the boxes for us. So Steve also made some modifications to the legs of the other box that sits a little taller because it's going to be for middle school kids. And then Adam with an F. Instead of a P. That's my mistake. And Sean did a great job working on this. But Procopius is, like I said, he was phenomenal. When Shannon came to me with this opportunity, I brought it up at our tech meeting, and Pro said, I want to do it. So Pro is the one that worked with these guys every day after school and made this happen. So special thanks to all those people. And UC Davis is the university that first built the software and made it public source so we could all take advantage of that. So these are the people that need the credit, these guys.
I just wanted to thank everyone also for that. That is really cool back there. If you have a chance on your way out to please play in the sand, because I did and it was a lot of fun. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Sean. Thank you. I kept thinking Adam with an F, not a P, so that's, and Sean, thank you so much. And Ryan and Pro and everyone, the Mishlers, that is very, very cool. So thank you all for your help with that. The kids will really get a kick out of that.
Okay, wait, did we build enough suspense? Come on up, wait.
All right, good evening. This has already been the greatest board meeting ever, how we've started, so we want to continue on with that excitement and momentum. My name is Cindy Grice, and I'm the principal at Wade Elementary School, and I'm here tonight with three of my fifth grade teachers, Vanessa Shriver, Nicole Caleris, and Carrie Thomas, along with some very enthusiastic fifth graders that are here tonight. We're excited to present to you to continue on with the theme of the evening about an innovative structure that we put into place for fifth grade as we embrace our journey forward into 21st century learning. Oh, that's all right. There we go. As you know, as we move forward and we talk about our strategic plan goal and how it's stated, annually increase inquiry-based learning experiences through increased student investigation using questions, problems, and scenarios. When we talk about what that means, when we talk about inquiry-based learning, you hear so many acronyms. You hear STEM, STEAM, you hear IBL, project-based learning, problem-based learning, and it goes on forever. And really what it is, it goes back to those two blue words there is questions. How do we question our students? How do we get our students to question things in the world? And then problems. What are real life problems that are in the world, and what is true authentic learning, and how can we integrate that across the curriculum to make a difference? So basically, when you think about inquiry-based learning, it's nothing new. It's not a packaged curriculum. It's basically just good teaching, and it comes down to just moving us forward in that way. So many of you have seen this, that basically the needs of education are ever changing by the day. We can no longer teach the way that we were taught. We did a book study as a staff, and this was one of the graphics in our book, talking about if you go back to 1970, Fortune 500's most valued skills then, versus moving into 30 years later in 2000, which we once considered were soft skills, such as collaboration, problem solving, interpersonal skills, are now at the top. And if you even move forward now 18 years later, those three have remained at the top, but then added in creativity as well. So On the next slide, you'll see this later on in a presentation about the STEM camp that we're offering this summer that Mr. Maddie will discuss. But when you talk about what are those 4 C's, talking about how we communicate with one another, how do we share our thoughts, questions, ideas, how do we collaborate with one another, how do we work together towards reaching a goal, how do we use specific talents and expertise to get there, critical thinking, how do we look at problems in the real world in a new way and link it across all content areas. And then finally, creativity. How do we try new approaches? How do we truly build a culture of innovation? And tonight I'm very excited, as are the many students behind us. When we asked for student participation, when the teachers talked to them about talking in front of a lot of adults and talking about the exciting things going on in school, all of these kids stepped up to the plate and said, we want to do it. So that's why we brought them all tonight to share a little bit more, because you know their enthusiasm is there. But before we had any strategic plan, our most recent strategic plan in place, before we even did the book study, I'm going to shout kudos to these 3 ladies who I call our trailblazers. About 3 years ago, their heads were way ahead of me and then some, and they came to me, and Vanessa's going to explain a little bit more, but they were already forward thinking in the structures that we have in place in our school, in our public school setting. Does that match where we want to go with a culture of innovation? So I'm going to turn it over right now to Vanessa to tell you kind of how the idea of Wondrous Wednesday came about.
Hi. So Wondrous Wednesdays were born out of a scheduling need and a desire to integrate multiple subjects together.
So our prime focus with Wondrous Wednesday was to integrate social studies into the curriculum in a way that we could use STEM and project-based learning and interest-based groups and really get the students involved in social studies.
So our main focus was team building, collaboration, communication, independent thinking, and of course that piece of creativity.
One of the neat things about Wondrous Wednesday is that the students get to work with all the 5th grade teachers. They are not stuck in their homeroom. They can work with peers across different classrooms. So they get to work with friends who may not be in their homeroom, and then they get to experience a little bit of all of our teaching styles and strategies.
Most of our Wednesdays consist of the town hall meetings, STEM or a team building activity, and then the interest-based learning and social studies rotations. So we're done with our little bit, so we're going to turn over to the experts.
Hello, I'm Max Dudley, and I'm a 5th grader at Waite. One part of Wondrous Wednesday is called Town Hall. This is where we all come together and are able to practice our skills of communication, collaboration, and problem solving. Here's Kylie Cassell to tell you more about what we do in Town Hall.
Town Hall is important. Town Hall is an important part of Wondrous Wednesday. This is a time when a whole group level comes together to discuss and solve problems as a grade level team. This is a time also where we give shout-outs or compliments to students who go above and beyond. This is also a time when we talk about upcoming projects, which you will hear about later in the presentation. Town Hall is like our own little congress and builds a sense of team.
Another part of Wondrous Wednesday is STEM. This is a time where we use all of our 4 C's to learn math and science in fun experiments that really make us think. Here's Kendall Duran and Alex Newby to tell you more.
STEM is a great experience for 5th grade to get our minds pumping and work together in groups. STEM helps us learn about gravity, force, motion, and friction. In a fun way, though. We also get to work together, which helps us learn to collaborate and work together as a team. The best part about STEM is that there's no right or wrong answer. It's more about how to solve a challenging problem. One of the amazing STEM projects we did was the Cup Challenge. The Cup Challenge was where you worked in groups of 4 or 5 people. The object was to stack all 6 cups, but with your hands tied together. This was a fun and challenging STEM project.
A big part of Wondrous Wednesday is working collaboratively in groups. Here's Kendall Duran, Morgan Derringer, Ava Malquit, and Cheyenne Booth to tell you more about 4 larger group projects that we did this year, focused around our social studies standards.
One of our group projects was involving the election this fall. We had the opportunity to role play a real election for our 5th grade team. Everyone had an opportunity to role play for an office such as president, vice president, justices, and Congress. It was a fun and exciting experience because many people ran for office. Those students that didn't run still got to be a part of the election by voting. In this project, we used our creativity, teamwork, and leadership skills.
In the middle of the year, we did our business projects, where we worked in a group to learn about economics and how to be entrepreneurs. It was hard to figure out what you and your partner would be good at. In my group, I love to bake and my partner loved to design things. So we made a bakery business called Double Duo Cakes. We created a plan and divided up the work. We had to use a lot of creativity to get it just right. Also, we used a lot of math, like pie charts and percentages, to make sure we make a profit. This was one of my favorite highlights of 5th grade. This past January, our 5th grade team studied the Pyeongchang 2018 Winter Olympics. One of the purposes of this project was using our skills of teamwork and responsibility. As we studied different countries, we learned about how different countries work together, although they are very different. We also learned about learned a lot about math and science and how they impacted in the Olympic sporting events, such as rate of speed involving with downhill skiing and bobsledding. What you had to do was find people to be in a group together. But you had to build a poster board and present your project. Another fun part about the project was finding a person that was from your country to either make a skit or find interesting facts about that person. My country was Chile, and my person was Dominique, Ohio, a freestyle skier.
One of our projects we are currently working on is our States and Living Museum project. For the States project, we researched and studied a selected state. Mine is Alaska. I selected that state because it has a very unique climate, geography, and wildlife. We studied culture, popular foods, and much more. We then selected a famous person who was born or grew up in our state. I selected the famous singer Joel Kilcher. When we present, we will actually dress up and act as if we are that person. We are presenting our Living Museum and States projects this Wednesday from 10 to 11 to the 4th graders and parents. And if any of the board would like to come, you are more than welcome.
One of our favorite parts of Wondrous Wednesday is interest-based groups. This is where we had various electives to choose from for a 6-week session. Some of these included drama, coding, 3D printing, mindfulness, Genius Hour, and many more. Here's Abby Waugh, Kara Petrie, and Lauren Krazel to tell you a little bit more.
Drama is an important part of Wondrous Wednesdays and is one of our options for interest-based groups. During Drama Club teaches us skills like how to talk in front of a crowd and how to communicate with others. We have already performed the performance Type Condos. We are currently working on a play called Vacation to Mars, which I am a part of. I love that we were able to have this opportunity because I love music and theater. In drama, there are a lot of speaking parts, music, and dance, and we also created all of our sets and props. I got the opportunity to try out for the role of Pluto, the former planet who still thinks she is a real planet. I got the role in it and also became head prop manager. As a drama team, we really had to work together, and we learned the experience of how being in front of an audience can sometimes make you feel nervous. The Drama Club team agrees that Mrs. Shriver has been an important part of drama. She has taught us everything we know about drama and to teach us everything we need to know to prepare us for different things like this. I love drama team, and I hope I'll get to have the same experience in middle school.
In 5th grade, we do this thing called Genius Hour in one of our interest-based groups on Wondrous Wednesdays. Genius Hour is an interest-based group where you get to pick and create your ideas. You can make it either about giving back to the environment or a community service project. We obviously have to do a little research on our project because we don't want to go into our topic without any knowledge. But that's another thing. Your project has to be a passion of yours. It needs to be something you love and not a topic where you don't know anything about. You need to take time and create an amazing idea and make it come alive. For example, I was actually in Genius Hour, and a passion of mine was to help animals, and I developed an idea with a friend of mine to have a fundraiser for an animal shelter at a school event of ours. We had everyone donate items for the shelter to come to a school event. The shelter is very happy that we donated these items. But there's one more thing to add. Genius Hour isn't actually an idea from our school. It was actually an idea from Google. I'm really glad that we adopted their idea. Genius Hour is a really fun interest-based group, and I would really recommend it to the upcoming 5th graders.
Today I'm going to be talking about the MakerBot and 3D printing. 3D printers are used by businesses all over the world to make models for inventions in medicine, engineering, and industry. We experienced how to do this by creating our very own keychain designs on Tinkercad. Tinkercad is a 3D design and process website that you use to create your very own 3D design. Once you have your 3D printing all done, you can choose one color to print it out as. Finally, we print them out. How they print is by using a special 3D printing machine called MakerBot. MakerBot prints your very own 3D creations. It takes your designs from Tinkercad and prints them out in the color you choose. Now we all have a stylish and cool keychain to hang anywhere you want it to.
They did a great job, and a round of applause for our students. And also, special thanks to all of our families who joined us tonight for your support as well. And as a parent, my son was in 5th grade last year at Wait, and the ultimate compliment to what this day was, he was sick on a Wednesday, and he woke up and he goes, "Oh, it's Wondrous Wednesday," you know, and kids are excited about it, and we're trying to incorporate all of this into not just Wednesdays, all days of the week, but as we move forward. So special thanks to our teachers for being trailblazers with this innovative learning as well. Thank you.
I want to thank all of our students and our parents for joining us this evening, and I would like to especially recognize our Wait teachers that are here. We did a building chat at Wait just, a month ago, 2 months ago, and that's when we come and visit the buildings and we sit down and chat with the staff, and this is one of the things that they were excited to share with us. And I went back to Ms. Grice's office at the end, and I think I just said, wow. This is the exact direction that we want to move K-12 as a district. So I'm looking forward to all of you providing leadership and guidance across our district as we move forward. Thank you. Welcome to sneak out now if you want. Since we're on a roll with inquiry-based learning in STEM, I want to invite Mr. Maddie, our Assistant Director of Curriculum, down to talk about a STEM camp opportunity.
right, well, good evening. We have quite the theme going on tonight, and I think we are all in pretty good hands with the next generation of kids that are growing up to be the leaders in our community and our world. This is a pretty exciting meeting tonight, so thank you. The Medina City Schools Department of Instruction is very excited to announce Explore STEM, a one-week summer inquiry enrichment program open to all incoming 5th through 8th grade students. The program is designed to engage students in real-world problem solving through a series of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics challenges. The challenges require students to collaborate, think critically, be creative, communicate effectively, and make connections. These are skills critical to 21st century college and career readiness. Through a partnership with the Ohio State University Medina County Extension and the Medina County Career Center, students will explore relevant STEM-related careers through participation in hands-on learning modules facilitated by experienced and licensed educators. And a couple of the goals of the program include using creativity and innovation to design a solution for real-world problems facing our community, investigating the scientific method to formulate and test a hypothesis, exploring local STEM careers exploring local STEM careers that make a difference in Medina today and for future generations, and developing problem-solving, communication, and teamwork skills. So the program runs from June 18th through June 22nd, 9 o'clock until noon at Medina High School. On Monday, June 18th, to start the week off, students will begin the week with a focus on team collaboration at the Medina County Career Center, and they will complete the Ropes and Challenge course. Students then have their choice of 3 inquiry experiences for the rest of the week. 21st century farming, how does food get from the farm to our tables? Water is life, how does water impact our daily lives? And count what matters, how can science improve our lives? And then on Friday, June 22nd, students complete the week with an exhibition and demonstration fair open to parents and community members. Students will showcase their learning and celebrate their accomplishments. A keynote presentation will be delivered by Kyle White from the OSU Extension Office, focused on careers of the future at 10 o'clock on June 22nd, followed by the exhibition fair. And then throughout the week, local career professionals working in STEM-related fields will work side by side with students on the STEM challenges. These community guests will also be invited to speak about their career experiences to all students as part of the Explore STEM Community Career Connections Speaker Series, including Boyert's Farm, Akron Waterways, and McJack Candy Company. These 3 speakers will touch on career connections related to the STEM challenges students are experiencing each day. And then just a little plug, registration closes on June 1st. Tuition cost is $110 and includes material, supplies, a daily snack, the field trip to the Career Center, and our amazing educators here in Medina. Registration materials can be found on the Medina City Schools website. One note, and I do apologize because we have been having a little bit of difficulty with one of our 2 payment options, the pay for it online option. So I encourage parents to pay by check and make that out to Medina City Schools and mail it to the Board of Education office. And finally, we've been working with our amazing STEM teachers to plan, and everyone is very enthusiastic. I'd like to especially thank Cindy Grice, Eldora Lavdis, Craig Komar, and Shannon Fedorenko for their contributions to making this program a reality. The program is a result of a collaborative effort between the Department of Instruction and these 4 creative and dynamic instructional leaders. It's one more example of the work we're doing as a district to meet the goals of our strategic plan. So thank you very much, and I'll take any questions.
Is there a number that you have to cap out for the camp?
No, it's open to anyone and everyone. Okay. So we had a goal of 30 to 60 students, and we have over 30 registrations already with about 2 weeks left in the registration period. So far so good. This is the first year, yes. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Matt. And just one thing I wanted to point out that I think is important to note is we've always offered summer opportunities to help students continue to grow. This is a unique opportunity where we want to help students to do more than just grow, and that's advance, and it's open to all students at all abilities and all levels. So we really want to make sure that we're offering opportunities to the entire gamut of students. A couple other items I wanted to quickly cover. Just a brief staffing update. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more when we get to the staffing section. I already mentioned that since passage of the levy, we moved forward with our strategic plan, which means we're looking at multiple positions for hiring. Those are due to the implementation of the new programming per the strategic plan. And those efforts will be going on with Mr. Shields and the Human Resources Department throughout the summer. We are in hiring season, and you can see that from our agenda. Just to look ahead a little bit here, on the agenda, we do have several personnel recommendations for teacher contracts as well as administrator contracts, which, again, it's that time of year. This is an annual thing to bring our great educators and keep them here in the district. Several end-of-school activities that I would like to highlight. Most of them are associated here with the high school, but we've got our Senior Awards Assembly coming up tomorrow. Our baccalaureate is on Thursday. We have commencement Saturday. We've got our Medina Career Center Awards Assembly here in the gymnasium on Wednesday. And then we've got our Medina City Schools closing ceremony, which I can't believe I'm talking about already, on May 31st. We will be having our final community chat on June 6th. I'd like to make particular attention to this date because it is a shift from what we originally had scheduled. In order to increase our attendance reach, we've decided to move it to an evening, I believe at 6 o'clock. And we're going to be broadcasting that live in this room, so the entire community has the opportunity to see that wrap-up presentation. And we're going to relate back to our strategic plan, talk about our accomplishments over the course of the year, and of course where we're headed down the road as well. The last thing I wanted to mention, and this is just an informational piece for the board, is the Recreation Center expansion discussion. This came up early on this school year. The city wanting to do an expansion to the rec center, and just to provide a little bit of background for people who may not know, the rec center is a collaborative effort between the school system and the city. We actually own the facility. The city helped us to build that facility, and the city is contracted to utilize that facility as a rec center for our community. At the same time, our students, particularly our high school students, have access to the facilities, whether it's during the school day with some of their classes, or whether it's after school with athletics. They had asked early this year, they need our board's permission since we own the building, to do an expansion to the rec center. They want to be able to offer more opportunities to the community as well as to our students. At that time, I did not make a recommendation to our board simply because I felt like our priority as a district, which is my number one priority is our district, was to make sure we were financially sound before we had serious conversations about a potential rec center expansion. And how that may or may not impact us financially. As I had promised, we are in the process of reopening those conversations with the city. So I anticipate that we will have more information coming to you sometime in the not too distant future. One of the things we are going to be looking at and exploring is the agreement we have with the city for the financial support as well as the usage of the rec center. So we want to include that as part of the picture, but we do want to be supportive with the city in moving forward. So more information is coming. Any questions for me?
Well, I have good news. They were fantastic. Now for the financial summaries, though. The district bank balance decreased by $3 million in April to $84 million for the year. The general fund revenues were below last April by nearly $1 million. The state foundation, property tax allocation, and other funding account for the decrease. General fund expenditures, these were above last April by $1.6 million, and everything increased except for purchase services, which I have a feeling I'm holding back purchase services because Mary Mittman's looking for appropriations for purchase orders that she needs to get through before the end of the year. The sales tax fund is up to $3.9 million. The district received the first quarter payment from the county totaling $809,000 and spent approximately $37,000 in April. The district received nearly $100,000 in investment income for April, bringing our total up to $829,000 for the year. This is approximately $173,000 above last year at this time. Well, sorry, all of last year's collections. The district currently has general fund true days cash estimated at 289 days. Questions on the summary? Too fast? Okay. I told someone I'd get through this in 5 minutes. So, the 5-year forecast. Now I know you've all heard this before from me, so I'll tell you it all again. School districts are the only government body in the state of Ohio that is required to create a 5-year forecast and submit it to the state. The forecast is created based on assumptions and information at the current time. The forecast is only good for the day it is created because changes made by outside forces will always have an effect on the forecast. Medina City School District has had opportunities to continue to move forward. The Board of Education approved the 5-year strategic plan created in June of 2017, which will provide additional programming and services for K through 12. Because of the passage of the 5.2 mil substitute levy in May, the district will continue to collect $6.6 million per year, creating a more stable school district while remaining fiscally conservative. The district, to move forward and show continued financial transparency, will be spending down monies accumulated over the last 5 years, allowing taxpayers of the district to not see a request for additional funds for a total of 8 to 9 years. This is sort of repeating what Aaron just said, even though he didn't know I was going to put this in there. So I think it shows how collaboratively we do work together. The 5-year forecast provides for anticipated revenues and expenditures of the district and fully incorporates the 5-year strategic plan. There are 3 main sources of revenues which will be affected throughout the forecast. These are the real property taxes, unrestricted grants and aid, which is your school foundation, and your property tax allocation funding. Real property tax revenue is looking at being stable as a result of the passage of the substitute levy in May. The first collections for the substitute levy will be January of 2019. This levy will allow for continued funding of the $6.6 million, and the passage of the levy allows the district to move forward with the strategic plan as approved. School foundation funding has been declared unconstitutional by the courts dating back to 1997. The state has changed the foundation funding system completely 3 times in the last 8 years. With the latest system in place, the state allocated a whole $10 more to school districts per student this current budget year. Because of low increases by the legislation, they have learned that the current funding system is also flawed. But as the state has reached its funding max based on the economy that the state could only produce, Medina City Schools will be receiving less because our valuation per pupil will be going up at a higher rate than the state's value per pupil, thus moving the burden for more funding down to the local level. The property tax allocation funding is money coming from the state for homestead and rollback. It's also money coming from tangible personal property tax loss reimbursement. As has been the case over several years, the state will be reducing the tax loss reimbursement money to the district. At its high, the school district received roughly $7.5 million for tangible personal property taxes. When the state discontinued this form of tax, they provided the tangible personal property tax loss reimbursement funds. This will be the last year for this type of funding for our district. The district assumes increases in expenses as it moves forward. We assume personnel will remain the same on the forecast and retirement systems will increase the years for our employees until they can retire. Costs for tuition and utilities are anticipated to increase. Supplies and material costs are also anticipated to increase but fluctuate throughout the strategic plan. The plan will provide for additional academic opportunities, and these opportunity costs are reflected throughout the forecast. If you look at line 12.01, which is the last page, there you go. If you look at line 12.01, it shows the funding balance, including the 5.2 mil substitute levy. You can see the passage of the levy will allow the district to remain financially sound throughout the forecasted years. The 5-year forecast incorporates the strategic plan of the district, a plan that offers increased academic programming and services to all students. The forecast shows the yearly reduction in the ending balances as the programs and services are implemented with no additional funding as promised by the substitute levy. And finally, the forecast shows the stabilizing effect the community provided the district with the levy passage. Are there any questions on the 5-year forecast?
I had a quick question. Thank you for putting this together for us. It's always a great document for us to, even with all the caveats, but at least look out in the future and see where we might be. And you've been very good at doing these through the years. We appreciate it. The revenue from new levies, I mean, it's on like the first page, and it's also on page 23. That's starting out in year 2020, 21, and 22. Did I miss? I don't know if I missed what that is. The 22,000, the first year 62.5, and then the 88.
With the substitute levy, the district is allowed to increase the taxes for new construction in the district.
Okay.
And that 22,000, 62,000, and 88,000 are estimates based on estimated values of increase. It does not increase when your valuation increases with reappraisal.
Okay. And then one other comment on the nexus, and I don't know when's a good time we could talk about it at a work session, but we brought this up at the facilities meeting because there's always more repairs that need to be made than sometimes there's funding for. And whether or not the board would ask or request that those nexus funds be earmarked, to be used for the facilities to continue to repair and make upgrades. I mean, I think that was something. Doug, I don't know if you have a comment on that.
The facilities and maintenance costs are something that we need to continually address. And so we're just trying to find some creative ways to take revenues that are maybe new to the district and see if we can't orchestrate them in, because like you said, the list and the requirement is far greater than what we have to work with, and so that's something we would like to talk about, and probably a work session would be good.
Well, I'll just give you a quick comment about that, and I think I've commented before. The funds from the Nexus pipeline will be coming into the district. You saw estimates on the Gazette, and you saw estimates from Mike Sobel, who worked with the Department of Taxation prior to his working in a school district. They will be coming, but as the valuation hits our books, a few years down the line, the state will be taking the money off our foundation. So if you're looking to place those monies that are coming in to be used at a later time, we could place that in separate funds, but it's not going to be where those monies are continuously coming to the district. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Does the board have any board communications they'd like to share?
I do, Becky. Just the Finance Committee, last Wednesday, during last Wednesday's Finance Committee, Becky and I spent a fair amount of time stepping through some of the general ledger accounts for our community member participants. Dave did a great job explaining the different accounts applicable to the buildings, their questions, principal's account, field trip supplies, etc. Dave also explained the requisition process, which has been automated. We've moved away from the 3-part carbon paper forms. And Dave showed us the actual online process a rec goes through, including the approval hierarchy and how he can approve or suspend a rec and ask the requester electronically for more information before that final approval. We've reduced from hours to days the process of getting a rec through the system. And we also reviewed the ongoing effort Dave is tasked with regarding the Board of Revision and Board of Tax Appeal losses, and how the district can either gain or lose tax dollars when property owners, particularly commercial property, request reevaluations on tax bills. He showed us the amounts. In 2014, it was a loss of $42,000. In 2015, it was a loss of $33,000. And in 2016, there was a big property value. There was a loss of $259,000. So that's a total of $335,000 in lost commercial tax revenue that affects our district dollars. And Dave is constantly fighting the good fight for our district when it comes to getting us fair share values on these commercial properties. And the community placed their confidence in us during the recent levy passage. And I just wanted to let the community know that we on the board are working closely with Dave to ensure transparency and fiscal responsibility. And he's fighting all the time to make sure that we get our tax dollars that are due to us. Thank you, Dave.
I just wanted to use my board comment time to, I know it's not new news and we've already discussed it, but just again, thanking the community for their support of the levy. Our jobs here are difficult at times, but would be far more difficult if we were looking at cuts and things like that, and it would be just a much different situation. And so we've said we're gonna continue to be careful with our spending, and I know that's what our superintendent and our treasurer want to do also. But the levy committee worked very hard. Lori, Therese, the Walburns, the Rollins, the Turretons, and I'm missing a few others. There's several families that were part of that, and they did a great job. I bumped into a friend this weekend, and they were so complimentary of the communication that was put out by Kids First, and what a great job they did communicating for the district. And our community relations director, Amy Busby, was a liaison with the district that helped give facts about the levy. And Amy did a fine job being sure that she communicated with the community and got those facts out there. So we just appreciate the strong leadership that our superintendent gave us during that process, and for the staff that all helped, and for all the people that walked door to door, and all the things that were done. And I know Mr. Eastwood put up some signs, I think, in his spare time. So there were a lot of people that did a lot of things. So we thank you very much that the community put their support in the district and to fund the district. Thank you.
If I could just add to that, thanks. When you have a process that goes on as long as this has gone on, and the concern and the passion behind trying to establish that stability for the district, and it really is. There's those three parts in balance where you have your students, you have your staff, and you have your community, and the three have to work together. And I really am encouraged through that process, how that showed itself here in the recent election. But beyond that, even in conversations with people in the public meetings, in the door-to-door, I just really want to say thank you to the community and to the staff and our leadership. And we are going to look forward to doing everything we can to provide the best opportunities for our young people and to make this go just as long as we can. So thank you.
And I would also like to thank everyone, Kids First, our administrators, the board members, community, everyone that helped make this possible, and to our voters. It was very important for this to pass, and the levy did, and now we can be excited to move Medina forward. So thank you to everyone who helped out. There are a lot of events going on right now. There's concerts and theater productions, and it's a very busy time. End of year wrap-up exams. Graduation is coming up, so make sure that you enjoy all of those moments because we are here for the kids. I was at the Bell Choir concert earlier today at Canavan, and it was a great start to my day, just watching those kids perform and listening to them. So I want everyone make sure to get out and experience some of that. I know a lot of those events are on our calendar, on our webpage, and in the app as well. Along with graduation, I would like to congratulate Mr. Sable on his graduation from Leadership Medina County. I know that was a big time commitment for him, along with running the district, and we appreciate everything that he does for the district and the community, and congratulations. You're welcome.
I just wanted to take my time. I have a lot of thank yous, but one of them is to piggyback off of what everybody's saying about the community. Thanking the staff, support staff, the administrators, Mr. Sable leading the charge, the media, all the community groups, the Board of Education members, and helping get our levy passed. Absolutely a team effort, and it kind of makes you proud why we're here. I also want to, one of the reasons I got on the school board was to serve and to recognize, to serve our kids, to serve our staff. And what I saw tonight was amazing with the kids in the sandbox. And I want to thank all the staff that put that together. And Matt, your STEM program was unbelievable. Cindy with weight, just kind of tugs at your heart. Very proud of what I saw tonight. Thank you. I also want to thank everyone who participated in the Sea of Youth, the police recognition, all the staff, including teaching staff and administrators that participated in that. That also was something that it means a lot to me with the law enforcement background. And I don't know if you, I don't know, just I get emotional when I hear that dual taps. I don't know how they do that bugle. And then the other guy does the other bugle in the other part of the room. It just kind of, I always tear up. But very proud of having that ceremony here, and I appreciate Annie Satterwhite and her son Trevor putting that on, and the mayor was part of it, and it's just a community school district collaboration that is just a wonderful thing, and I'm glad we do that. I also want to thank all the buildings, all nine of you for participating in the Bike to School Challenge. I think that was great. I hope all the kids had fun riding their bikes to school. And Paul, that was great, riding in the gym. I mean, the kids love that. So I hope everybody had a good time with that. This is the first year all 9 buildings were participating. So thank you to all the principals who took that task on. One more thing, I'm almost done. The Special Olympics at the Brunswick High School. Just what a great event that the staff, again, thank you to our staff. Aaron and your administrators and all the teachers that are part of that. I don't know, but somebody told me that the more you get involved with the Special Olympics or the special needs kids, the more it becomes part of you. I definitely feel that the more I see this kind of stuff. You know, you feel bad, but then you see how happy they are, and they're smiling, and the parents are so encouraging, and it's infectious. And so being a part of that and seeing our staff just embracing those kids, just, again, I don't want to get emotional, but I am inside. And I just want to thank everybody for participating in these wonderful events going on in our school district. And I thank all of you.
Just wanted to quickly mention as we head into consent agenda that it has been updated to reflect the changes that were requested by the board. In order to see those, you'll need to refresh your page for them to show up. Thank you.
Okay, for action items of the treasurer, item number 1 is recommended the Board of Education approve the April 2018 Treasurer's Report. Item number 2, supplemental to permanent appropriations. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following supplemental to 2017-18 permanent appropriations. If you look at item public school support instruction, $6,000, that's for the Explore STEM that Matt was talking about. We also have end of the school year items that are going on here at Canavan, at Garfield, Claggett, Root, Northrop, and the high school. We have supplemental to temporary appropriations. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following 2018-19 supplemental to temporary appropriations. What we have here, we have, thank you for pulling that up because I can't see it on my, we have a comparison between this year and last year. If you notice, we're down a little bit on our temporary appropriations for the general fund. Not all of the departments have gotten in their appropriations, so we're going to be updating this as we go along between now and September. Bond retirement is at what we will be paying out for the upcoming year. Permanent improvement, you could see that it's up a little bit. The reason it's up is last year we received monies for the cell tower, and we're allowing John to spend those monies on permanent improvements this year. Your food service, we still are looking at getting the budget ready for food service, but this will allow them to go ahead and spend for the first 3 months. Your uniform supplies are at 90% of what they should be. Last year, you'll see that they were down a little bit from this, but they're based on number of students in the buildings itself, so they're at 90% of the current number of buildings and the current fees for that. Our Rotary Funds, this includes monies for John Leatherman's account at Evolve. It also includes the JDC, and so as you can see, John has gotten his budget in, whereas last year it was a temporary budget itself. Our emergency levy, we're up a little this year based on what we've actually spent. All new spendings for new hires last year went into this fund. We are going to be continuing that plan with any new hires going into this fund. The reason is because this is where our substitute levy is, this is where our emergency levy is, this is where all the new funding is. So, our other grants, our public school support. You could see I rounded these numbers because, again, we don't have all the budgets in. With our other grants are, I believe, the largest figure out of here is 19. I have no idea what it is right now. I'll have to look and get back to the board here. Employee benefits are at 8.2 million. That's a rough guess based on where we are currently at for the current year. Workers' compensation, we really haven't moved this over the years. The district actually has a very low workers' compensation rate of 0.03%. This has been since I got here 4 years ago, so we don't really need to move that much, so the 190 will take care of it. Sales tax, right now the estimate by the county is lower than it was last year, and if you recall, the county estimate is lower because of the Medicare, there was something that dealt with Medicare. They were getting Medicare refunding or something to that effect that they are no longer going to be getting. So this affected the school district's figures itself. Student activity and athletics, we have, I believe, not gotten all those in as of yet. There's more than just athletics in the 300 account. There's also other clubs and sports or other clubs in the 300 account that we have not gotten in from the high school. So if you look at that $83 million as opposed to the $88 million, again, it's just to start off for the year. We will finalize this and get this to you as the departments get their budgets into me. Okay, number 4, it is recommended that Board of Education approving the following then and now purchase orders. These purchase orders are for the copy machines, the new copy machines that are coming through. The invoices came in before the purchase orders were submitted, so we're just throwing them onto the board for approval. And then finally, we have fund-to-fund transfers. General fund, we paid the energy transportation bonds here in April. And so we're moving the monies from the general fund as we always do. And then Garfield is closing out its school store. $947 is going to the Garfield Principal Fund. And finally, number 6, I know. Hey, let's not be sad there, okay? Finally, number 6. It is recommended that Board of Education approve the May 18 5-year forecast and notes to comply with the State of Ohio Department of Education requirement. Thank you very much.
Okay, for the treasurer's action items, may I have a motion, please, to approve those?
I move to accept the treasurer's action items.
I'll second that.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Mr. Ross? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's hold off on that. Mr. Eastwood?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
First item for tonight is a date change of the June work session. We have several board members that will be out of town as we're heading into the summer vacation months. I did start a shared calendar for the Board of Education as well as myself and Dave, if you all wouldn't mind, just so we can make sure we're coordinating with upcoming meetings, and thus I'd appreciate you putting those dates in. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the date change of the June work session from June 4th to June 11th, which is just the week after. Number 2 is donations. It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following donations to the Medina City Schools. The one I would like to point out here is the Bike to School. Bikes donated through Melian Orthodontics. Number 3 is a resolution. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the resolution permitting the Medina City School District's membership in the Ohio School Athletic Association for the 2018-2019 school year. And this is something we have to do on an annual basis. Number 4, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the Juvenile Detention Center Program Agreement between the Medina County Juvenile Detention Center and the Medina City School District for the Medina City Schools to provide educational services for students at the Juvenile Detention Center between June 4th, 2018 through August 10th, 2018. This program is funded by grants and sending districts. So again, this is something we are required to do on an annual basis. We do provide the staffing for the Juvenile Detention Center, and other districts in the county will have similar type of action items so that they can help contribute to the costs of the summer programming. Number 5, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the Medina County Career Center Satellite Program Standards and Maintenance Agreement between the Medina County Career Center and the Medina City School District for the Medina County Career Center to provide educational services, specifically design and modeling and automation and robotics for students at both Claggett and AI Root Middle Schools for the 18-19 school year. Number 6 is a service agreement. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following service agreement, and this is for the Math Learning Center, Bridges Interventions, Grades K through 5 workshop, and Bridges in Mathematics, getting started, grades K through 12 workshop on June 4th through 5th, 2018. This is coming out of our curricular department and is part of the new math adoption at the elementary grade levels. Number 7, some additional service agreements. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following extended school year service agreements for the 17-18 school year. On an annual basis, we provide extended school year services to students that are identified through their individual education plans. Again, we are mandated to do this per IDEA or per law. These are various opportunities for those extended services for specific students. The different programs are based off of the individual student's needs, as well as the identification by the IEP teams at the building level. Couple stipend payments tonight. The first is, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the stipend payment to Ms. Therese Weaver and Ms. Lisa Kaiser in the amount of $100 each from Ashland University for being cooperating teachers for an Ashland University student teacher during the spring semester of 2018. It is also recommended that the Board of Education approve the stipend payment to Mr. Daniel Sutherland in the amount of $325, Ms. Bethany Stoller in the amount of $400, and Ms. Stephanie Jessup in the amount of $325 for being cooperative teachers for a Kent State student during the spring semester 2018. So you've noticed we've had quite a few of these over the course of the year. I'm proud to say that universities are happy to utilize our educational professionals to help train upcoming teachers. We have a whole series of field trips. The first are still for this current school year, 2017-2018. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following overnight field trips in compliance with Policy 2340 for the 2017-2018 school year. And these are, again, reoccurring trips that these athletic programs have taken in the past. Number 11 is for next school year, 2018-2019. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following overnight field trips in compliance with Policy 2340 for the 18-19 school year. These are cross-country camps across the board. I believe this past year we had a couple of these that were recommended a little bit late. I want to thank Dr. Kwolek for being on top of this and making sure that these camps for the upcoming school year are in a timely fashion. And the final field trip, actually going 2 years out for the 2019-2020, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following overnight field trips in compliance with Policy 2340 and for the 2019-2020 school year. And this is a proposed educational academic trip to Spain, France, and Italy. The reason why this is being recommended so early, and I say proposed because it's based off of student interest and enrollment in attendance at this. So the advisors of the Spanish Club, Latin Club, and who knows, maybe eventually here French Club, need to have this pre-approved so they can begin that planning process to see if there is the interest before proceeding. 13, it is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following sponsors per the City of Medina City Schools Recreation Center sponsorship agreement. And again, I know I've said this before, but these are for Redwood and Candy Apple Company, and these will need to be approved by City Council in addition to our Board of Education. Personnel list is fairly long this evening with an attachment, and again, that's because of what I mentioned earlier. We've got recommendation of 2-year administrator contracts for administrators in our districts whose contracts are up at the end of this school year. In addition, we have 70-some teachers that are on the agenda to be recommended for a contract renewal for the coming school year. Of those 70-some teachers, we have approximately 9 teachers who are being recommended for 10-year contract. Teachers are eligible for 10-year contract after 3 years of service within the district, obtaining 30 hours of additional professional development. They also have the opportunity to apply for tenure if they have achieved tenure in another district and then were hired in our district and have served at least 2 years in the district. These teachers that are being recommended are being seen as highly qualified. We take our evaluation process, our building principals do an outstanding job with the evaluation process with our teachers, and those initial 3 to 5 years are vitally important in terms of looking at a teacher's growth and helping them to move forward. So I want to thank our building principals and our associate principals for working with our staff. Few retirements for this evening. Again, it's that time of year. Vicki Kocher is retiring after 19 years with Medina City Schools. Vicki was hired at Root Middle School in 1999. She taught 2 years of language arts and then 9 years of math at the middle school level. The last 8 years, she has taught 4th grade at Northrop Elementary School. Nancy Wojak is retiring with 22 years of service to the district. She was originally hired to teach vocal music at Root Middle School, but then covered vocal music at both Root and Claggett. Since 1998, she has worked exclusively at Claggett Middle School. Nancy is well known for her very successful guitar program at Claggett and her direction of many incredible Claggett musical productions. Kathy Lasher, District Prevention Coordinator, has been associated with Medina City Schools since 1990. For nearly 28 years, Kathy has been working with Medina students to help educate them about the dangers of drug and alcohol use. Her work with students focuses on helping young adults avoid risky and dangerous behaviors. Kathy has been responsible for overseeing the highly successful Huddle Shuttle programs that places older students as role models in our elementary buildings. Kathy has worked tirelessly to ensure students lead healthy and safe lifestyles. Jim Love is Medina High School Assistant Head Custodian, and he's retiring with 15 years of service to the district. Sally Gunner, bus driver, is retiring with 31 years of service, driving students to and from school, as well as many field trips over her career. Sally also worked in the food service department at Medina High School during some of her years in Medina City Schools. 30 years transporting our students is truly impressive. Sharon Steiner, Medina High School cook, is retiring with 32 years of service. Sharon started working as a sub in the district when she moved to Medina and enrolled her children in the district. One day, she was walking her students to Heritage Elementary School, and the school crossing guard suggested she sign up to sub in the district. She signed up to sub and within 2 years was hired. 34 years later, she is now retiring from Medina City Schools. Special thanks to the crossing guard for suggesting Sharon sign up to sub. And thank you to Jim for getting that information together for us tonight.
I'd like to make a motion to accept these items.
I'll second that.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none. Mr. Chambers?
Yes, Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Thank you.
The next several items that we have separated out are related to summer projects and bids that were recently completed. If these items are approved this evening, it'll allow Mr. Burkhart to move forward with these projects. All of these have gone through the Facilities Committee and are part of his long-term forecast in terms of facility and facility expenditures. The first one, it is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the resolution to award the bid for the Medina City School District's Medina High School roofing project to Northern Ohio Roofing and Sheet Metal, Inc. in the amount of $361,900. And I do want to say that this is right in line with the expectation for the bid amount.
I move we approve that.
I'd second that.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Becky, I just want to mention that I thought John did a really great job when he presented this to us on that visual, when he had the overhead view from
At the work session.
at the work session, from the aerial photos. But that's a pretty big roof up there, so definitely needed.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none?
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
The next item, it is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the resolution to award the bid for the Medina City School District's tennis court repair project to Perrin Asphalt Company in the amount of $194,652.50. This is a project that has been bid multiple times. We were in a position where we needed to work with the architect to increase the bid amount. And in researching the reason for having to do that, it's because of the specialty and expertise it takes for this project. So this bid is a little bit higher amount than we had originally anticipated, but it's in line with the bid amount we were expecting after doing a reappraisal and research.
Can I make a motion to accept the bid?
I'll second.
Ron, got it. You're welcome. Any questions or comments from the board?
Just the comment is, I believe, this is obviously something the Facilities Committee and Mr. Burkhart's been working on for a year or two. And, this is great that we have this proceeding. It's my understanding it's approximately half the tennis courts, and it's the half that has the most defects with cracking and things like that. And I believe, Doug, is there some work for the drainage as part of this?
I do
If I'm
believe
not
they've
mistaken.
incorporated some drainage in it as well. That's correct, and that's part of what we had to accomplish and deal with. And we have some local people who have donated a lot of their individual time, families and people, to help in the organization overall of what's needed. And I'm looking forward to giving this group of people something good to work with. So.
And Rob, that addresses some of the safety issues, right? I mean, as far as the players on the courts, there were some serious.
Yeah, I think these courts, we couldn't use some of them because for tournaments, they weren't up to standard. So it definitely is something that we all know we needed to have completed. So, but it's great that we have the bid this year, so we'll get it done this summer. Good.
Any questions or comments from the public? Thank you.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item is contract for security improvements. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the agreement for security improvements with Technology Engineering Group at a cost of $320,032. And I'm not going to get into specifics regarding this project tonight because it is a security project to increase the safety of our schools. We can have further discussion in executive session if you had any specific questions about the project.
My only comment to it is a large amount of money, and I think I'm safe to say, without revealing information, that we wrestled with the amount, but we all feel that it's important to make security a priority with things that have gone on nationwide. So this amount it has a lot of our own staff, I believe, helping do some of the project, and I appreciate the work Mr. O'Call has done. He's been a great addition to the administration, to the team. Not only can he build sandboxes and electronic sandboxes, but he's great with all sorts of technology. So we appreciate all of his work that Mr. O'Call has done. And I'll just leave it at that.
Can I make a motion to approve this as stated?
I'll second.
Any additional comments or questions from the board?
Just real quickly, that in regarding in safety in general, I've been around some of the committees that have met and continue to meet, and the district takes safety extremely serious. And there's sometimes, you know, you don't hear about it a lot, you don't see a lot about it, but that's because it has to do with the nature of security, and thus the comments Superintendent Errant made. But very, very encouraged with the collaboration with the community. I remember one day there were all kinds of cars of various authorities meeting and discussing and ultimately putting plans together to help improve our situation in this district. So I just wanted to say thank you to all involved.
Thank you. Any comments from the public? Hearing none.
Mr. Eastwood?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
And the final summer project item, it is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the resolution to award the bid for the Medina City School District's Transportation Parking Lot Improvement Project to Feko Excavating in the amount of $534,282. I do want to mention that this came quite a bit under bid, which we were pleased with. And this is the project at the bus garage to repair the deteriorating parking lot that the buses are sinking into, as well as addressing the flooding issue that was occurring in that lot as well. And this project is also going to help with the longevity of our buses because we will no longer be dealing with them freezing in holes to the ground.
I move that we adopt the award of the bid to Feko Excavating for $534,282.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Becky, I just wanted to mention that I think when we were all talking about this before, and before the transportation department moved over there, the buses were actually parked behind Claggett. So if you think of all of the school buses that we had parked at night behind Claggett to what we have now, where they're actually able to be maintained, mechanics working on them, the bus wash, hooked up to heaters so that the buses are already warm during the winter. I think it's definitely leaps and bounds, and this is a great improvement to make sure that we maintain those buses as best we can.
Thank you, Mrs. Pavlik. Any questions or comments from the public?
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Sorry. Mr. Eastwood?
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Burkhardt, if you could just real briefly come down and share with the board the timeline for these projects and if there's any additional information that you wanted to share.
Well, with school letting out here really soon, I think it's going to be right around June 4th. We're going to start with just about most of the projects. The paving, we'll get on their schedule. That could be more of a July kind of time frame, except for transportation. The tennis courts would be something we would do right away. Transportation, you know, we're going to have to work with the schedule of moving the buses off site and all that sort of stuff. So we've already reached out to John Fechko, and I know, Doug, you'll help us with coordinating all that and watching that job, and I informed John of the same. So we have 2 more projects that are coming in for bid. The Claggett Cafeteria project will be coming on June 4th, and then later this week, I think it's Thursday, we'll be opening the bids for the one final project is, the AI Roots classroom expansion project. So everything's coming along real well. We're pleased with, for the most part, the bid results. If there's any questions about any of the projects, I'm going to have them on Twitter all summer, or give me a call anytime. So we're pleased.
Mr. Burkhart, also, there's a couple of the buildings are having media centers redone, but is that most of the work can be done in-house on those at Think Garfield and Claggett?
Yeah, we're redoing Claggett's, and we're working with the building principal and the PTO, and we're doing carpeting, and we're doing furniture kind of upgrades and that sort of stuff. Some of that, a lot of that's coming through some of the general fund savings we've had with our utilities this year. We've had a lot of savings in our natural gas and electric, so we've been able to reallocate those funds to kind of take care of some of those kind of issues. But yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is a personnel item. It is recommended to the Board of Education to approve Mr. Ronald Ross as a volunteer in the district.
I make a motion to accept Mr. Ronald Ross as a volunteer in the district.
Go ahead.
I second the motion.
Any questions or comments from the board?
It's truly an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Any from the public? Hearing none.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
I'm going to abstain.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
I do have to share that Mr. Ross just completed his new BCI and FBI fingerprints, and he's all clear. And the last item for this evening is approval of Oopsey contract. Oopsey, or our classified staff, includes our bus drivers, our custodians, our aides, our cafeteria workers, our cooks. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the Oopsey negotiated tentative agreement effective July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. We have been in the process of negotiating with Oopsey since approximately February. These negotiation processes were part of the routine cycle of the agreement, the contractual agreement that we had with the Oopsey union and membership. This bless you. The agreement, the meat of the agreement is that it's a 3-year contract. We are recommending a 2% increase over the course of 3 years, so that's a 2-2-2. We've also negotiated with Oopsey an increase in their contributions for health care, and that's a quarter increase, not this coming year, but in the second year of the contract, and then in the third year of the contract as well. We also worked through several pieces of languages within the contract that were of interest to the board, as well as to the Oopsey membership. And these are just operational and functional needs within the contract, such as the process that's followed when an internal employee is looking to move to another position with their time frame. What I cannot highlight enough is that these recommendations for the 2% increase is not a result of the passage of our levy. This is regular business as we reevaluate and renegotiate contracts on their rotational basis, which is typically over a 3-year period. The 2% increase is in line with our long-term forecast and budget, and those figures have been presented to each of our board members. I do want to thank the administrators that were involved in that negotiations process, Dr. Kwolek, Mr. Shields, Mr. Burkhart, Mr. Chambers. and Mr. Travis, can't forget Mr. Travis, for participation in that negotiations process. As I said, it started in February, and this contract was literally just ratified the end of this past week. So we wanted to make sure we did our due diligence in going through this process. So we were making a responsible recommendation to our Board of Education. I do believe that a 2% increase for our classified staff is justified, is a conservative amount, and is deserved by them as well.
I'd make a recommendation that we make a motion to accept this as stated.
I second. Any comments or questions from the board?
I'd just like to thank Aaron and the staff, John, Chris, Jim Shields, for working on this contract, and the Oopsey staff. It's been several, like Aaron said, since February, so it's been several months. Thank you for coming to an agreement.
Well, and I'm sorry, just to throw one more thing in there, I do want to point out that Oopsey was very cognizant of what our long-term forecast looks like, even with the passage of our past levy. And I talked at the beginning of the meeting about tightening the belt, and they knew and recognized and wanted to work with us in being fiscally responsible moving forward. So I was thoroughly impressed with working through that process. I also want to note and thank them for their efforts with the levy campaign. They made a pretty large contribution through their Columbus Oopsey office in providing some reverse phone calls, which saved the Kids First organization about $4,000 or $5,000 that they were able to allocate towards other pieces of the levy campaign. In addition to that, our local leadership, Oopsey organization, voted to make a monetary donation to Kids First as well to help with the campaign. So our finances were at the center of this process.
I would like to thank all parties that were involved with the negotiation of this contract. The current contract does end June 30th, so this one would begin July 1st. I do feel it is fiscally conservative and fair to all the parties involved. If there are no more comments or questions from the board, are there any from the public? Okay. Mr. Chambers, roll, please.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Thank you.
Believe it or not, that is the end of all action. Phew, I thought we had more. That is the end of all action items. This is time for public comment. Community members wishing to address the board are asked to abide by the following guidelines. Please state your name, address, and affiliation. Please keep comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. All comments are to be directed to the Board of Education and not to any one individual. Comments shall focus on areas that have not been previously brought forward to the board by the individual or associated group.
None of our administrators want to come up?
No, nothing? Okay. All right. Okay, well, at this time, I move that we move to executive session to consider the employment, compensation of a public employee or official, to prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees, and for other legal matters.
Second.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Thank you.
I would like to thank everyone for coming tonight. It was a really good meeting. Now the bar's set really high for the next ones. But enjoy your evening. We do not anticipate taking any action in executive session. Thank you.
Go Cavs.